mental health activity known as VENT. Vent. A vertical of Richie Knows. Community-driven mental health solutions. By gamers, for gamers. Destigmatizing mental health. It's your brain. Delete the dread from your head. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. Mental health affects us all. We are Vent. No judgment. No judgment. We got ya.
My name is Jonathan Bautista.
My name is Kitty. I go by Kitty Kaboom online.
I'm Stefan Lopezanski.
Oliver Boone.
Micah Greenleaf.
Ryder Davis.
My name is Kim.
Elijah.
Amanda.
Devonta. Derek.
Cheyenne.
Alan.
Andrew Forbes.
My name is Sherry Nan.
And I have struggled with mental health.
My earliest notions of paranoia came up in high school.
My anger, my frustration.
It finally starts chipping away at you to one point where you do get kind of down. I suffer with anxiety currently, loneliness,
Isolation.
delusions,
Bullying.
Sadness. Fear.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
I've been struggling with depression my whole life.
Still didn't know how to handle it.
When you get under that, it's really hard to get out of it.
Depression is like a shadow, and some days there might be overcast, or you might not be able to see your shadow, and you think that your depression is gone, and then when the sun comes back out, your shadow's right there, and it always will be with you.
I feel like gaming is a good way to get yourself out of that.
Just talking to them and finding peers that had similar mentality and similar interests.
It's very warm and very welcoming.
That was a huge help.
I'm so happy like I have a community.
You know, I think that that's like the best form of therapy, just talking.
You talk it all out, and it really helps. It really does.
Introducing Vent, a safe, supportive space from Richie Knows. We connect gamers. Hey everybody, this is Robert Clotworthy, and I want to welcome you all to something that is potentially going to be life-changing for a lot of people. We are trying to reimagine what mental health and the approach to mental health is. We call ourselves community-driven mental health solutions, and the community is you. It's the gaming community. We are partners in this experiment. And, this is our very, very first show. We've been on for 18 seconds now, and we're going to make mistakes. We're going to not do everything right. But by making those mistakes, I think that's where you learn. And one of the things that's critical for us is to get your input, your questions, what your thoughts are, because we want to make this something that helps people. That is our goal. That is our focus. With that in mind, let me introduce myself again. I'm Robert Clotworthy. For those of you who may know my voice or recognize it, I'm the voice of Jim Raynor in StarCraft. And I'm here because I care about the gaming community. I've met a lot of gamers through the years. I've spoken to a lot, and they've opened up to me and shared their innermost thoughts, fears, their pain, and it's time that what gamers are going through, the experiences you have, that people pay attention to you. And when we started talking about putting this show together, I thought, how can I introduce this? Since I'm an actor, I thought, you know what? I need to write some of this stuff down. I need to share with you what my thoughts are. And I came up with this today. So if you would indulge me for just a couple of moments, I'd like to share with you a little bit about where I'm coming from. Going to the gym, working out, exercise, watching your diet, organic food, non-GMO, salons, getting your hair cut, a makeover, glasses, contacts, Botox, tummy tucks, butt lifts, holistic treatments, colon cleanses, Western medicine, Eastern medicine, physical therapy. It seems that if any of us has a physical issue, either real or imagined, there's a treatment. There's some kind of an app for that. Now, we all have different bodies. We have different aches and pains. Some pains you can relate to, others not. If you want to take some time off, get rejuvenated, you can check into a spa. You can take a mineral bath. You can get exfoliated, take a steam, heat lamps, waxing, you name it, a massage. All that is terrific. It's helpful. But the question is, what about your mind? That gray matter that's between your ears. Now that's a little bit trickier. What about those thoughts that are troubling you, the ones that you can't escape from, the ones that keep you up at night? What about your feelings? Mental stress, loneliness, depression. The list goes on and on. And I would say that it's something that every person has dealt with at one point in their lives. This is unifying. I mean, who hasn't felt lonely? Who hasn't been sad or depressed? All of us share this in common. But where is the spa for that? Well, that is what Vent and Richie Knows is all about. Vent is that virtual mental health spa that we are trying to reimagine how people approach mental health, how it's discussed, and more importantly, how it affects gamers, their friends, and their families. Now, I know that a lot of you feel that there's nowhere to turn, that no one cares about what you're going through, that no one is listening. Well, I want you to know that Richie Knows and Vent, we're listening. Richie Knows and Vent, we're trying to create something new, something that is dedicated to gamers and your mental health. If it's true that 82% of the gamers are unhappy, and when they're asked that question, this is what they tell us, we need to find out why. So I encourage you, go on Reddit. We have a Twitch account, Twitter, Discord. We need your input. We need your questions. Let us know what works and what doesn't work. Help us help you. Remember, this is all community-driven, and the community is you. Now, one of the ways that we are going to, open up the curtain and expose what's really going on is through something we call Vent Journeys. That's what this show is about. Each week, we're going to share with you someone's personal journey through mental health. Now, I know that it takes courage to open up, but if we can shine a light on what most people are afraid to even discuss, let alone share, then I truly believe that we can take away some of the power that it has over us. Perhaps just by knowing that you're not alone, that will give you some of the confidence you need to take that first step. At Vent, we don't judge, we don't preach, we don't pretend to know all the answers. Vent is a safe and affirmative space for you. Again, it's community-driven mental health solutions. It's gamers helping gamers. Well, on that note, I would like to introduce to you our very first guest on Vent Journeys. This young man is actually a member of the Vent team, the Richie Knows team. He's a game developer based in Philadelphia and was first diagnosed with depression as a young boy between the ages of 8 and 9 years old, along with ADHD. He's got a master's degree in game development from University of Connecticut, and he actually taught game design for a year as part of his graduate assistantship there. He's worked as a developer on numerous games, and of course, I asked him about those, and he says, listen, most game developers, whatever game they're working on, nobody's ever heard of, but I'll throw out a few out there so you may recognize him. He worked with some former Blizzard and Riot employees on a game called Defend the Cake, a game called Card Hunter, and he's currently working on a physical-digital hybrid tabletop game. And he was due to moderate a panel in 2020, game developers panel, but of course the pandemic hit and we know what happened there. He's also has over 200 different board games in his collection, played thousands of video games, and he pretty much has played every genre of game and enjoyed most all of them. So first I'd like to share with you a little bit of the conversation that I had with Stefan Lopuszanski.
Hello, I'm Stefan Lopuszanski. I'm 34 years old. I've been struggling with depression my whole life. It never really goes away, even with proper medication and therapy. The way I would cope with it is usually I would be sleeping. I would go to my room and I had no motivation, no will to do anything. My room became a disaster zone. Thankfully, I was never suicidal. I would just like check out. At the same time, I was also diagnosed with ADHD. I was different. Later on, I went to a psychiatrist and we looked at different medications and ways of dealing with this. Luckily, I had a laptop and the internet, but literally I would spend days in my bed either playing games to escape, and finding people that were like me was really something that could help pick me up, carry me. And I met some people that were really interested in just chatting with me, and we just talked to each other to figure problems out. And we've been talking to each other since then. That type of support was really powerful. It kind of motivated me to be who I was. Just randomly on a whim, I was on a website and found a local gaming group that met up every Thursday. So I decided to stop by. They accepted me because we're all gamers. And just talking to them and finding peers that had similar mentality and similar interests was something that really helped me. It really got me through it. It was something that, it really changed my outlook. So that was something that really turned my life around. So the best advice I can give to someone going through depression and struggling with this is to experiment. Figure out what makes you tick. You only need one thing that works, and then it'll make the journey worth it.
Well, I'd like to bring on Stefan now so we can continue the discussion. Stefan, how are you doing?
Good. Nice to be here with you.
Yeah, welcome to the very, very first Richie Knows Vent Journey. First, I want to thank you for opening up and sharing your personal journey with us. And for those of you that are interested, I think we're going to be posting that entire, roughly, 60-minute long interview that we did with you on YouTube. Also, if you have questions for Stefan, please, Twitch, Reddit, Discord, we're all there. So please, we're listening to you and are interested in what you have to say. But Stefan, bring us up to speed. How are you doing now?
Good. A lot of the dark times have gone. So I still struggle with depression here and there, but thankfully, through a combination of medication and diet, it's pretty much gone. So I'm working here with Richie Knows team on Vent, and I'm also running my own company and doing some R&D on games.
Let me ask you. I got a question that came in. Actually, it's two questions in one about when you were diagnosed. What age was that? And did it scare you?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed, I was about 8 or 9. I don't know if it really scared me. At the time, I was pretty young, and to me, it was more confusion than anything else. It kind of felt like the therapist was out to get me and was trying to side with my parents, and that I was just defective and trying to explain away what I was doing. Mm-hmm. But that's not really how I came to understand it. I came to understand that it's just part of me, and it's something that I have to deal with and overcome.
Is it something you have to, I don't even know what the words are, struggle with day to day? Correct me if I'm using the wrong terminology, but how do you deal with it on a daily basis? Do you have to check in once a week? How does it all work?
I take medication daily. That really helps. I'm also usually on a ketogenic diet that really helps with my anxiety and just depression in general. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll just have a day where I just kind of check out. My coping mechanism is usually sleep. So I'll just have a day where I kind of sleep away, catch up. But it's not too bad now. I've pretty much, on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't really crop up. It's just, once or twice a month, it might rear its head and then I need to deal with it. But thankfully, the dark days are over.
You talked about therapy and different therapists. I guess it's critical that you find the right therapist, right? How did that work out for you? Did you go to people that weren't helpful, or what was your journey there?
So just like the medication, we tried different therapists. Eventually, we found a psychiatrist who was really good. He was really understanding, and he took a similar approach to me in being very logical and methodical. And we did lots of different tests with medication and really found something that worked for me. And it was because of him I could really, become who I was.
Well, that, actually, it's an interesting and nice segue because, Vent, one of the things we're trying to do here is we're going to bring on these shows some of the top professionals in the mental health field who are going to share with us their insight, their expertise, their thoughts, their experiences, and perhaps maybe a word of wisdom or advice for people to help them get through these difficult times. And so with us this evening, I'm so honored that he agreed to share a few minutes with us. This man, his name is Dr. Orlando Cartea. He's a psychiatrist. His practice is based here in Santa Monica, California. He specializes in the treatment of depression, mood disorders, bipolar and personality disorders, and addictions. He is an 8-time winner of the Patient's Choice Award from Vitals, which is the largest online database of patient reviews for doctors. He's a graduate of the Keck School of Medicine at USC, and he performed his residency at UCLA Medical Center. I've got to ask him how he battles that inner struggle between a Trojan and a Bruin, but maybe on another show. And he's also affiliated with the West Los Angeles' chapter of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, or as we call NAMI. So please welcome to our show, Dr. Orlando Cartea. Doctor, thank you.
Hello. Thank you for the very kind introduction.
Well, Doctor, I guess my first question is, you heard a little bit about what Stefan's experience was. You have obviously a great deal of experience in the mental health field. What are the issues, I don't know if it's 1, 2, 3, however many it is, that I guess is the most prevalent issues that you find you're dealing with people that are in the gaming community?
Well, I think that the gaming community can be a source of great connection for people. I would say that the unifying characteristic that most emotional difficulties share is that they account for tremendous isolationism. And so whether your difficulty happens to be with a mood disorder or a depressive concern of some sort, or an anxiety spectrum condition, whether it be a panic attack or social phobia, or an environmentally induced derangement, such as a post-traumatic stress-related condition, what all those situations share, as well as eating disorders and other conditions which would be under the psychological heading, is that they tend to become very isolating situations, and they turn into diagnostics of secrets in a sort of way. And so any community can provide a great level of support and remedy for much of what ails you.
Yeah, I'm hearing that community is obviously critical, but it seems to me oftentimes that gamers, by nature or by the by fact that they're playing games, there is a great deal of isolation that's associated with that. And then you add to it, the current situation that we're in with the pandemic. Does that just kind of amplify the issue, or?
No, absolutely. And to take a macro perspective on this, people might talk about the effect of technology and its increasing isolationism, or its tendency to have people operate in seclusion. If you look at the human story, we have for eons and eons lived and worked in communities of between 80 and 100 people. That's been the case forever. And when you live in a community of 80 to 100 people, your lifestyle changes in ways that are distinctly different from our current situation. So by definition, you would expect us to be, technology or no, anemic socially and anemic physically, because when you live in a group of 80, you're running after lunch and you're interacting with the entire tribe all the time.
With, I mean, obviously that seems like it's like a cascading event can happen after that. Once the first card falls, a lot of stuff can happen. I guess my question is, how do you know whether let's talk about depression, because that could be one of the ways that it manifests itself. How do you know whether you're depressed or just having a bad day? A lot of people self-diagnose and they compare themselves to what they see on the internet, that they think their lives are supposed to be perfect. How does that play into it all?
Sure. Well, it's depression, like most conditions, falls along a bell curve of severity. Frequently, and this may get to part of the challenge, we rely on family members or on friends to bounce back to us variations in how we're functioning. And taking a functional inventory of what your life is like and what it used to be like, if there's been a change, is a very useful kind of way of getting a metric. So
I'm sorry, can you give me kind of a for instance as to what you mean? I mean, obviously taking your personal inventory. My question is, how do you know whether you need help or not?
If it takes, if you've been in contact with 4 friends this week, and if you think about it, that's been your usual MO, then that would be a metric suggesting that you're at about where you usually are. If it's taking someone calling you 4 times before you'll return their call, or if you have not changed your clothes for 3 or 4 days where that was not typical at other times, then that's another example of a hard metric that you can perhaps look to.
And what's the first step that somebody can do if they have some concerns?
I think talking to friends and colleagues is a reasonable first step. I was introduced to the idea of therapy at a pretty young age because in my particular neighborhood, it was sort of a Woody Allen oriented neck of the woods. And so it was considered just something you did. And that made logical sense to me in the way that, I mean, Tiger Woods is not playing just now for various reasons, but he still has a golfing coach in spite of how well he is doing, as do any phenomenal athlete will have a coach. And so I think that having whether it's somebody called a coach or someone to function as an occasional assessment person, whether it's a therapist or someone in a related field, is a helpful thing to do.
I guess I want to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, is this something that you can overcome? I know a lot of people just feel it's never going to end. Where do you find that optimism or that hope?
Well, it is pathognomonic or very common in certain conditions, in particular in psychological conditions, that when you're in it, it really feels like there is no hope. Yeah. That's how you experience the phenomenon. And when you're through it, it'll feel like you never went through it. We don't remember emotional states very well. We remember dates, we remember how to ride a bike, but we don't really remember what our emotional states were like, historically speaking. Diaries can help us with that, or a coach or a therapist can help us remind us of what a horrible time something might have been, or how wonderful a time may have been. But we're not very good at rendering those memories. It would be, I think, equivalent to looking at a situation like weight, let's say, or physical health, and knowing that there are a plethora, a number of different things that can be done to improve that, and then endeavor as best one can to maintain the motivation to run through those solutions as best one can, and to recruit confederates or helpers along the way if need be.
Stefan, does that ring, I guess, a familiar bell for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. A lot of times it feels very illogical to be depressed and it doesn't make sense. But when you look back on it, it kind of, you can reflect on it once you've gone through it. And yeah, it's definitely something I've experienced.
A question just came in, wants to know about you, Stefan. Can you tell the difference now if you're dealing with your clinical depression or just on the low side of the bell curve like the doctor was referring to?
I mean, it's a little vague. To me, one symptom that I really would have when I was dealing with my depression is everything could be going perfectly. I could be getting straight A's. I could, have friends. I could be having fun, and I just have no motivation, or I just kind of want to just sleep or just not do anything. To me, that is a very different type of depression than, say, I just broke up or had a friend that was being mean to me. It's very different, but there's still different ways to struggle and deal with that. So I would say, like, I can tell the difference. It's usually just about like my environment.
Doctor, I want to ask you, he mentioned environment. How critical is that?
It can be quite significant, and it's important to take some measure of what factors in your life environmentally are positive, so that you can, and as best you're able to, populate your life with environmental floaters, so that if you can, for instance, get yourself to do more physical activity, and you have it, and you know that you are facing a period of some difficulty, that you try to engage with that more. In the case of the most extreme examples, such as a post-traumatic stress-related concern or a multiple personality-related type condition, those are examples of situations where environment has altered the biology that you had going into the event.
Now, I know you work with NAMI. Can you elaborate a little bit on what NAMI is? I know I haven't really explained it very well. Maybe perhaps you could.
Sure. NAMI is an organization. It's the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill, which recruits family members and clinicians, as well as some patients, to share topics and to become organized regarding certain political measures or legal concerns when they come up.
Thank you. I know that we are going to put up some links for people that are looking for help, want to continue the conversation. Maybe you're just curious or interested. NAMI is a place that they can go to get some information. Doctor, I want to thank you for sharing some time with me. Do you have any closing thoughts for the gamers out there? If you had one piece of advice, imagine I'm sitting on the couch. We're at the 49th minute. We're about to close.
Right. I'd say that emotional and psychological concerns are the rule, not the exception. If you want to know what humans are like, you could do worse than to review the stories that we've been telling for a long time. And you could look at Shakespeare or Greek myth, and there are an awful lot of emotional concerns that people demonstrate in these long-standing stories. So it's really something that the more you can normalize the idea that everybody's got something, the better off you'll be.
Yeah, I guess it's not new, right? Ever since we first humans were on the planet, it's been that way.
Exactly right. If you have a very complex computer system, you're going to drop some files.
There you go.
That's the way it goes.
All right. Well, Doctor, thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully
Surely.
you will join us again another time.
Real swell. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And Stefan, I guess I want to get some closing thoughts from you as to how this experience has been. And if you have some words of advice for the gamers out there.
Yeah. For me, I mean, everyone has their own story. So my story might be different than yours. What worked for me might not be different for you. That's one thing that I've always found is just experiment and figure out what works for you. Find something that can help you. Not everything's going to work, but as long as you just find that one thing, it can really make a huge difference in your life.
Yeah. Now let's change gears for just a moment because I know we're coming to the end of the show. But Stefan is also the co-host of a program that we have on Saturday nights called Love Bites. What is that all about? Can you describe that to us?
Sure. So we're going to be talking about gamers and their relationships, different topics that might be considered taboo, but we're trying to destigmatize and bring it to light. Just as, mental health and depression is something that's always been part of society, I think it's really important to normalize it and just talk about it. So that's what our show will be about.
Well, that sounds pretty interesting, but can you give me a little, I don't know, kind of a preview of coming attractions, what you're going to be discussing this Saturday?
Sure. So, we have a game developer who identifies as a furry. We're going to be talking with him about his experience, both as a game developer, someone who has also struggled with mental health, and someone who also just recently came out publicly as a furry. So I think that will be quite interesting.
Yeah, so the focus here, again, for the gamers, this is about gamers helping gamers. This is, about love. It's about relationships. It's about sexuality. It's all these questions and thoughts and motivations that we all have and gamers have, and in the world that we're living in now. How do gamers express that? This is obviously for adults. You might want to take the kids and put them to bed early. But I invite you to listen to Stefan and his and by the way, who is your co-host on this?
So we have Timmery. She's a sex expert from Philadelphia. So yeah,
Yes, Philadelphia is the hot spot for sexuality. I did not know that.
I guess so.
All right, Stefan. Well, again, thank you very much. I look forward to tuning in and watching your show Saturday night on as part of Richie Knows.
Hey, thank you.
In conclusion, I want to thank everybody for being a part of this, our very, very first Richie Knows, I guess, show, for lack of a better word. I'm also the host of another program, another show that's going to be on Thursday, which is called Event Support Chats. The topic is going to be depression and mood disorders, but I don't want you to be depressed and get a mood disorder just because that's the title of the show. This, again, is something where we discuss it. We're going to have, it's not all going to be doom and gloom. We're going to honestly discuss this. We're going to listen to the gamers out there. We're going to have, because we go out and we talk to them. We ask them what their thoughts are. And hopefully we'll bring on a professional to kind of share with us their insight as well. So, in conclusion, this has been a really impactful and hopefully a very historic event. You are part of something that is could be truly amazing. We are trying to reimagine what mental health is all about. We are trying to help the gamers, listening to you, talking to you, discussing whatever is going on in your hearts, in your bodies, in your minds. We're not going to judge you, like we said. We're here to allow you to, as the name implies, vent. Let it out. So I want to say thank you very much. I'm Robert Clotworthy, and Raiders Roll.